Kadosh, Boker or Masechet Kiddushin Daf Amud Aleph 45a1. We were just asking the question on Ula, where Rav Mununa came and he said that you're not allowed to come and sell your daughter to a family member. And the reason why is because obviously if you sell your daughter to a family member, how do they get married to them? Right? Mishum Rabbi Lazar Amru because Mochra Lekruvim. But in the name of Rabbi Lazar, they said that you could sell her to family members. Vishavid, but even though there's a machloke between Tanakama and Rabbi Lazar, are you allowed to come and sell it to a family member or not? According to everybody, you're allowed to sell an almanah, right? That means if the daughter was an almanah to a kohen gadol or a grusha v'chalutza to a kohen idiot, and the reason why is because kiddushim are tofsim. That means even though there's an averah to get married an almanah to a kohen gadol or an averah to get married to a kohen idiot, but the kiddushin is still chal, meaning there's still a kiddushin. The child might be a halal and everything that you want, but it's still going to be a, how do you call this? A good kiddushin. So says the Gemara, "Hi almanah yichidami." What was the case of almanah? Ilema, if you're going to tell me now the kitcha viha that the father was the one that made the marriage, can you get her married? A person cannot sell, right, a woman, right, to the, meaning a person cannot sell his daughter as a shifcha after he already gave her over as a wife. Elalav, but rather, the kadishi nafsha, she got married herself. The kakar lamanan, she's still called an almanah. But why? If she gets married herself, it's klum, it's nothing, right? Because it always has to be the father that has to marry her off. And again, we're talking about that, right? We're talking about the case of, what's the case exactly? So Amar Rav Yitzchak says Rav Yitzchak, Hacha bekiddushe yiud. We're talking about kiddushe yiud. Ve'aliba, and according to
what is yiud?
Kiddushe yiud means that he designated her.
Yiud,
he designated her. That means he didn't actually. She's not actually married, but he designated her. Okay, and he says ve'aliba, right? The Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yudah. That's according to Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yudah that he says ma'ot rishonot. That the first money was not given as kiddushin, and since the first money was not given as kiddushin, but rather as shifut, so therefore he comes and he says it's not mikoach mesirat ha'av that he's giving over. So itmar it was stated v'nafla lifnei achiv leibum. It says what happens right now if you have a ketana that she went and she got married umet, and then the guy that got married to her dies. And she falls in front of the brothers for Yibum. Says Ravuna Marav, says Ravuna in the name of Rav, Mema'enet lemamaro. She's allowed to do miyun for the ma'amar, which means if the Yavam came and he did ma'amar, and therefore obviously she would need a get, it says she has to do miyun. Ve'ena mema'en lezikato. But if he did not do any ma'amar, right, so therefore she doesn't need a get, but only chalitza. The chalitza is not, she does not need now miyun. Ketzad, what's the case? Asaba ma'amar, if he did ma'amar, so tzricha get, tzricha chalitza, she needs a get and she needs chalitza. Utzricha miyun, and she needs miyun also. Tzricha get, why does she need a get? Shema nitratzav b'kiddushay hashani, because maybe the father was happy with the kiddushin. And therefore, if the father is happy, so therefore obviously she would need a get. Okay? Chalitza, why does she need chalitza? Shema nitratzav b'kiddushay rishon. Maybe the father was happy with the first marriage, right? The miyun, why does she need? Shema lo nitratzav means maybe the father was not happy. Not with the first kiddushin, not with the second kiddushin. If you ruin, they're going to say en kiddushin tofsim b'chuta. There's no kiddushin which is going to go on the sister, which means that if right now he's going to come and he's going to get married to the sister of this girl, so how could it be? So first she has to do miyun as well. So she needs to do three things here. She needs get, chalitza, and miyun. Yeah, that's what we said. Okay? Okay, fine. Lo asa b'ma'amar. If you did not do ma'amar, ena tzricha lachitza bivad. So then she only needs chalitza. Maya Marta, what are you going to say? She also needs miyun. Shema was maybe she umru en kiddushin tosim b'chuta. The sister, right? When we're talking about now, achot chalutzato is also asur, meaning that if he does chalitza to a woman, so the sister, you're not allowed to get married to the sister. Now, if he's going to come and be mekadesh, right, the sister, so therefore what? He's going to get married to her without a get? What's going on? Everyone knows that it's only drabanan, meaning everyone knows that it's only about din drabanan, it's not doraita. So therefore, even if it wasn't that she didn't need chalitza, what's the problem? So Damar Shakish says Shakish, Kan Shana Rabbi, here Rabbi is talking about Achot Grusha Midoraita, Achot Chalutza Midiverse between. You're right. We're talking about the Achot Grusha is Alacha Midoraita, meaning when a woman gets divorced, she's not, the husband is not allowed to get married to his sister as long as she's still alive. Meaning a man cannot marry his sister-in-law as long as he's still alive. Okay, Damar Shakish, because says Shakish, Kan Shana Rabbi. Here, Rabbi taught, Achot Grusha is Doraita, and Achot Chalutza is going to be Midivre Sofra. And now Betre, there were two people, there was a story of two people in Bavel, that they were coming and drinking wine, Betzel, in the shade of Etz Tzaftzafah. So somebody comes, right? He took a cup of wine, and he gave it to his friend. Amar, he comes and he says, right? Your daughter is going to be mikudesha to my son with this cup of wine.
Just with a cup of wine.
Yeah, a cup of wine. Well, listen, a cup of wine is worth Shaveh Pruta. No, it's worth money.
Talking about
cup
the
of wine.
Or the wine.
The wine. No, the cup of wine doesn't matter. But let's say even the wine. So Amar Rava comes and he says, Afilu lemandaman, even according to the mandaman, chashin and shamini tetzav, that maybe the father is going to be happy with such a case. Memeham would bet 45b. Shema nitratza ben lo aminan. We do not say that the son will be happy. Meaning, a man has to check first, does he want this woman or not? So therefore, only if he finds out that, so then he's going to be mekadesh ota. So it's not like the daughter, meaning a person could get his daughter married off. If he's happy, I'm going to say he's probably happy, there's no problem whatsoever. But not in the opposite case, right? That the man has to come and get married off. So maybe he made him into a shaliach. Meaning, maybe he made his father into a shaliach. And therefore, he told his father, listen, Papa, give me a bride, give me a kala. So answers the Gemara, nobody's going to be so chatzuf to make his father into a shaliach. He says, okay, but why? He says, at the end of the day, because making a shaliach is like, he's my messenger. Why? Your father is your messenger? I'm saying, you should do things for your father, not that you're sending your father to do things for you. So says the Gemara, but maybe the father wanted. Maybe the kiru, he was telling him in the opposite. He was like, yeah, Papa, yeah, you know what? Please, yeah, go look for me a kala. He doesn't hold of this thing that according to him, even a katana, even the kachah shalom datavia, and we're not going to suspect for the kiddushin unless the father said mefurash, and kol sheken, we're not going to suspect that if he told him at the beginning or not, right? Unless we actually heard it. Sahu Gavra, the Kaddish Bikisha Diarka Beshuka. There was a person that he was Mekadesh Ktana in the Shuk without the father knowing it. And how did he get married to her? With an Yirakot. So imagine, he gave a few vegetables to a little girl, right? Remember, Ktana, sometimes usually when we say Ktana, we think about a 5-year-old girl. It could be an 11-year-old or 11 and a half, right? Mama, she's one day before Bat Mitzvah. It's still a Ktana. Okay, so you're talking about, 11 and a half-year-old also, that's also Ktana. Right? But he got married to her with mamash, with a bundle of vegetables. Amar Ravina says, even according to the Mandama, that maybe we suspect maybe the father was happy with such a kiddushin. Meaning the guy came and he gave the kiddushin. And then the father's going to say, you know what? It's a good guy. Yeah, I'm happy with this kiddushin. Hanemina, one of these words, derech kavod. But if it's derech bizayon, we're not going to say such thing. So Amar Ravacha medivte Ravina, bizayon, what bizayon is there? What was the bizayon here? If bizayon diarka, if you're going to tell me it's a bizayon because of the yirakot, which means, right? He comes and he says it's talking about the bizayon of that it was done with yirakot. If bizayon the shuka, or because it was done in the shuk, nafkamina the kaddish because of the shuka, the nafkamina will be. But why doesn't he give money? Let's say he didn't give vegetables. He gave money. He gave her $1,000 here. So now it was money. It wasn't yirakot. So now it's okay, even though it was in the shuk. Or bekisha diarka bebeta, or what if he did it in his house? Yeah. Okay. So he comes and he says, he continues. So he says, or maybe what happens is that really bemet, it was that, or he did it in the house. So what's in the middle of shuk? They gave her the vegetables. So two things. Either he gave her the vegetables in the house, or he gave her money in the shuk. So now what? Now there's no bizayon. So now it's okay or not? What's halacha? So Elmaleh, he says, no, he says it's still bizayon. At the end of the day, even if it was going to be b'dvar chashuv, something important, but it was in the shuk, a lot of money, but it was in the marketplace, or it was in the house, but it was with vegetables instead of something important, it's considered to be Zayon, and therefore it's not going to be considered a good Kiddushin. Okay? There was a story of a person that wanted to be Mekadesh's daughter to one of his family members. She said Likrevei, right, to one of her family members, Kaftei, right? They went and they tried to convince her, Ada Amalla, until he told her, Tehavi Likrevei. You're going to go to your, that means basically what happened was that then they did a Sudat Kiddushin, and they brought all the family members, right? And they come. So basically what happens was, imagine, he wanted to be Mekadesh's, his younger daughter, his daughter, again, she's a Ktana, to one of the family members. So fine. So says the Gemara, when they're in the middle of the Suda and they still didn't do it, he went to the Gag, and he went and he did it baseter. So now the question is, do we say that maybe the father wanted it? Because obviously he didn't want it. Meaning he wanted it to a family member. Let's say you could say it was a cousin, it was anybody, but it was a family member. So maybe, but the father wanted it, but he did it privately. He did it on the Gag. He didn't do it in front of everybody. So Abai says, it's written, what does that mean? That he said they have to do proper actions, and they're not going to start lying and things like that. So since the father went and he said he went and he said to his the daughter is going to get married to a family member, so we're not going to suspect that maybe Bemet he did want and she's not mekudeshet. Why? For sure he did it. So chazaka en adam, he comes and he says en adam toriach beseuda umafsida. A person is not going to come and not going to make, right, a seuda, and he's going to make the entire thing go to loss. Imagine right now, you come, you make a wedding, right? Now, you're doing the wedding for your daughter. Everyone comes to the wedding. Now, they didn't put the hazmana, the name on the hazmana. But even if they did or they didn't, all of a sudden he comes and he gets married to her in a private room. Now, you're going to come and you're going to tell me that that entire seuda that he just made is going to the garbage? Obviously not. What's the connection? Obviously, right? He wanted her to get married to him. So my benau, what's the difference between them? The difference between them is that she had the kiddushin al dat avia, and the father went to Medinat Hayam, and then she went and she got married. Amar Rav says, she could still eat truma until the father comes and he does a mecha and he says he doesn't want it. Rav Asi comes and he says, no, she cannot eat. Why? And then she's eating truma, so it doesn't know. So it comes out as a machloket. Can they already eat truma or not? Can she eat truma from the beginning or not? According to the first shita, yeah, until the father comes. The second shita, which was the Rasi, says, what are you talking about? If the father could uproot the entire kiddushin, so she's eating l'mafreya truma. She can't eat truma. So the Gemara says, there was a story. And Rav actually suspected for about it. He didn't let her eat truma. So Amr Shmuel ben Yitzchak says, Shmuel ben Yitzchak, modeh Rav, and Rav is modeh. She meta, that if she dies, he does not inherit her. Why? Was there mamon? The money goes back to the chazakah. Meaning, truma is an isur. So therefore, I could say, you know what? Maybe the father will be happy, and therefore I could say, you know what? She's allowed to eat it. Money, you always go back to the cheskat marakama. You always go back to the chazakah. Until now, the money, you go back to the chazakah that she wasn't married yet. So nitkacha ledat v'niset shelo ledat. What happens right now? The ktana was nitkacha ledat avia, but she was not niset ledat avia. I mean, there was only kiddushin done with the father's will, but not the nisuin, right? The avia kan, and the father's here, yeah, but he kept quiet. Ravuna says, "Ena ochelet." She still doesn't eat truma. Rabbi says that she does eat truma. Ravuna says she's not going to eat truma. Vafilu Rav Damar ochelet. According to Rav that says that she does eat. He says, "Hatamu delo etiv le'av." There, the father is not going to be there, but here the father's here. So why did he keep quiet? Heidi shtik mirtach ratach because he was upset. Meaning sometimes a person keeps quiet because they're upset, not because they agree to it, but because they're upset. Rav Yirmi Barabba says, "Ochelet," and even according to Ravasi that he says, "Ena ochelet." Because maybe the father is going to come and he's going to do a mecha. But here, he kept quiet. So if he kept quiet, maybe Bemet he's happy with it. So we have two different ways interpreting when a person keeps quiet. Is it because he's so angry that you don't say anything? Or Bemet, he's mochel. It's okay. No problem. So nitkacha shelo ledat avia, and he said shelo ledat avia. What is if everything was done shelo ledat avia? And the father's here. Ravuna says she's allowed to eat, or Rabbi says you're not allowed to eat. Amarula Ula says, Ravuna, this concept of Ravuna is kachometz l'shinaim v'ke'ashan l'anayim. It's like vinegar to the teeth and like the smoke to the eyes, which is not good, obviously. Hashta, he says, Umahatan, just like over there, the Kedusha Doraita, you said lo achla, right? Lo achla, that you're not allowed to come and you're not allowed to eat it. Yeah, we do learn from Tanit. Very good. He says, Amarta lo achla, hacha lo kolshker, here lo kolshker, it should be the same thing. He says it should be like the words of the Talmid, more than the words of the Rav, Ravuna. We're going to explain this with Zat Hashem tomorrow.